further we look into the future, the easier it is to be overwhelmed, to torture ourselves, to just go into that downward spiral. So instead, try to focus on what's in front of you, the day to day, and think about what's in your power to do right now. What can you do right now? It's also important to realize that no matter how helpless and hopeless you feel, there are steps you can take to better deal with uncontrollable circumstances, alleviate your anxiety, and face the unknown with more confidence. And you know what? That's really what life is about. It's learning to figure things out. It's not necessarily knowing what you're going to do immediately when you're faced with a situation, but it's learning how to figure it out and using the tools and resources at your disposal to just deal with things more confidently, dealing with the unknown more confidently. And that's why I think it's so important to really tap into your support system and have open conversations with the people that you trust. Have as many open conversations as you possibly can. Hi community, welcome to this week's episode of A Cupful. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you're taking good care of yourself and keeping warm because it's August, and one thing August will do is make sure that it shows off and it shows up. That's exactly what's happening. It's like we need to know that it's pretty much the last month of winter, and that from next month it's spring. So yeah, it's clearing its carts, it's clearing its shelves, however you want to think about it, in whichever way you want to see it. But I'm just thinking about the fact that it's just like I really am not here for a long time, but I am here for a good time, and my good time means everyone's just gonna suffer and be cold. I don't enjoy this weather. I think I've said this enough times for for everyone to know that I don't like winter. So yeah, I am going to be the one to tell everyone to keep warm and make sure that you're taking good care of yourself. Drink your vitamins, drink lots of water, drink your warm fluids. Just make sure that you are nourishing your body and that you're also nourishing your mind. Make sure you're consuming the right things that are going to put you in a position to really stay focused. It's also almost the end of the year, which means everybody's trying to make sure that they reach their goals for the remainder of the year. Many people are trying to get their work projects done, trying to make sure that they finish things on time. So yeah, make sure that you're also investing in yourself and making sure that you are not tired all the time or just feeling fatigued because you're not taking care of yourself. You need to rest. You need to eat things that are going to fuel your body. You need to consume things on your cell phone, on social media, or on TV that are also going to contribute towards the strengthening of your system. So please make sure to take care of yourself. Make sure that you are taking it easy on yourself as well. I also know that at this time of the year, before anyways, I would go into a panic, and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, to say that I used to go into a panic when it was this time of the year, especially if I haven't achieved a lot of the goals that I had set out for myself. And I would just be like, there isn't any time anymore. There is time. There's time for you to take care of yourself. There is time for you to reroute and see if there isn't another approach you can take. It's great to explore things. It's great to give yourself a chance, take a chance on yourself. And even if you don't achieve the thing that you wanted to achieve this year, there's always next year. But the important thing is that you would have tried. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So yeah, just keep trying. One foot in front of the other, as I always say. This is in no way a marathon. It's really not a race. It's just something that is happening on a daily basis. It's a journey. So treat it as such and treat yourself as someone who is on a journey and who is learning and figuring things out, because that's exactly what's happening. So So, in this week's episode, I really wanted to talk about dealing with uncertainty. I think it's also a very fitting topic considering the time of the year that we are in, that we are at. It's August. We are 4 months away from the end of the year. I don't consider December as, I don't count December as a month that that's part of, I don't know, the months that I consider or that I count in as, how do I put this? Um, as the end of the year. The end of the year for me is not the 31st of December. Because December is like it's a relaxation month. It's a month to party and go on holiday and have a good time. So in these last 4 months, August, September, October, November, um, there can be quite a lot of uncertainty that a lot of people are faced with, myself included. And I just wanted to talk about dealing with uncertainty because I could really, really resonate with it. It's something that I really relate to, and I was thinking that maybe many other people that are the same age as me, in their 20s and their later 20s, are dealing with uncertainty and more every single day, not just because it's moving towards the end of the year, but because of, you know, your age. You're considering your age, you're considering the visions and goals that you had for yourself and things that you thought you would have achieved. So I really wanted to talk about uncertainty. It's all around us, and never more so than today. It could be a global pandemic, which is actually what we came out of 2 years ago. mm, we really are not going to get into that, but a lot of people are still recovering from that. The economy is another uncertainty. Your own personal finances, health, and relationships. Much of what lies ahead in life remains uncertain, okay? And as human beings, we do crave security. You know, you want to feel safe. You want to have certainty in your life. You want to know that things are going to be okay. You want to have that sense of control over your own life and over your well being. And not knowing what's going to happen, the fear and the uncertainty can really, really cause a lot of stress and anxiety. And that feeling of powerlessness, which I've felt over the direction of your life, it can drain you emotionally and really trap you in a downward spiral of endless what ifs and worst case scenarios about what tomorrow may bring. Again, this is somewhere where I have been. A lot of my 2022 was me just having to struggle through uncertainty. I was not dealing with it, I was struggling through it because I was just like, where is my life going? Where am I going? My finances aren't where I want them to be. My career isn't where I want it to be. There's just so much uncertainty that I'm faced with. And I was always so afraid. And I was always so, so anxious. And I just was in my head a lot. And I felt very, very powerless. And I just was frustrated. I was incredibly frustrated all of the time. I'm still dealing with uncertainty today, but I'm approaching it differently. And I found better ways to look at it. I found ways that are not going to drain me emotionally, and that are not going to make me or to leave me in a constant state of what if, and to take away the moments of enjoyment, because that's what uncertainty will do to you when you don't deal with it and when you just are living inside of it. You will not know how to get out of it. So yeah, and the reality is also that we're all very different, and we deal with uncertainty very differently. Many people can tolerate it, many people can't. Some people are able to take risks and live unpredictable lives, while others find the randomness of life deeply distressing. But also, all of us have a limit. If you feel overwhelmed by uncertainty and worry, it's important to know that you're not alone. Many, many, many people are in the same boat. It's also important to realize that no matter how helpless and hopeless you feel, there are steps you can take to better deal with uncontrollable circumstances, alleviate your anxiety, and face the unknown with more confidence. And you know what? That's really what life is about. It's learning to figure things out. It's not necessarily knowing what you're going to do immediately when you're faced with a situation, but it's learning how to figure it out and using the tools and resources at your disposal to just deal with things more confidently, dealing with the unknown more confidently, and just understanding that you won't always have the power to figure things out, or you won't always know what direction your life is going to go in. You will have good intentions, but you won't always know what direction your life is going to go in. And that's also fine. You know what I mean? That's also okay. We will make plans. We will definitely make plans. And we will 100% want things to turn out a certain way. But sometimes that's just not how it's supposed to be. And that's also okay. It's very natural and it's very unavoidable to be dealt with uncertainty. Very little about our lives is constant or totally certain. And while we will have control over many things, like what we eat and what we wear and how often we take a bath and our mindsets and how kind you're going to be to a person, you absolutely cannot control everything that happens to you. For example, as I mentioned, the pandemic. The pandemic is one thing that many people are still, they're dealing with the trauma of that and the after effects of that, financially, emotionally, psychologically. There is a lot that it took away, and it also demonstrated that life can change very quickly and very unpredictably. Many people had plans in 2020, including myself included. Many people were looking to do many things, to travel, to start businesses, to start families, get married, and the intentions were good. You see, when I said earlier on that you can have good intentions, but it doesn't mean that your life is going to go in that direction. So life within itself is just one long journey of uncertainty, and that's why it's important to learn to use what we have around us to deal with it. One day things may be just fine, and then next you're suddenly sick, or you've lost your job, or you found yourself struggling to put food on the table or provide for your family. And to cope with all this uncertainty, many people will use worrying as a tool. Here I am. I have been there. That has happened. For trying to predict the future and avoid nasty surprises. Worrying, however, can make it seem like you have more control over certain circumstances than you actually do. And you may believe that it will help you find a solution to your problems or prepare you for the worst. Or it's just also more like just something that you do. It's a coping mechanism, something that you do to try and soothe yourself or relieve yourself of this distress. But it's not that. It's just something that's going to torture you. And you also might end up thinking that maybe if you just agonize over a problem for long enough, just think through every single possibility or read every opinion online, you'll find a solution and be able to control the outcome. Unfortunately, none of that works. Chronic worrying can't give you more control over uncontrollable events, and that's the reality of it. It just robs you of enjoyment in the present, and it completely dries out your energy, and it will keep you up at night. It will torture you. But there are healthier ways to cope with uncertainty, and that begins with adjusting your mindset. You see, that's another important thing. And I talk about it all the time. That mindset is such a valuable, such a big part of moving forward and really, really finding a way to deal with some of the biggest challenges that you will be faced with in life. So there is a difference between having a strong positive mindset and obviously toxic positivity. You're not going to be positive about everything all the time. We are human beings, and that's not I'm gonna say it's not a functional way to be as a human being. You can't be positive about everything, but you can have a good and strong mindset, and after feeling sad about something, or disappointed or angry about something, you'll be able to go back and say, okay, I felt this way, but I'm also realizing that, you know what, this has happened and I'm gonna let it go, and I'm sure something better awaits me in the future. So shaping your mindset is a very important part of growing and of healing and of really taking good care of your well-being. And it's very, very important to be intentional about it. So how are we going to, practically speaking, really deal with and address uncertainty in ways that won't be exhausting, in ways that won't drain our energy, that won't take away from our happiness, that won't mean sitting down and worrying and just overthinking and fighting with ourselves to find solutions, or fighting with ourselves and torturing ourselves? The first one is you need to take stock of how you feel. This is very important. Put time aside to examine your current situation and think about how you really feel. Maybe talk about it with someone that you trust as well. And it's so important to always be kind to yourself and get support with how you are feeling if you think that you might need it. Speaking to a therapist if that's something that you can afford. Otherwise, speaking to someone that you trust, someone that's close to you, that will be able to really be a good support system and give you the advice that you need, or just be a listening ear, really. The second thing is to focus on the short term. The further we look into the future, the easier it is to be overwhelmed, to torture ourselves, to just go into that downward spiral. So instead, try to focus on what's in front of you, the day to day, and think about what's in your power to do right now. What can you do right now? Decide what's important to you and focus on your short-term needs and those of the people closest to you. Try breaking down tasks into manageable and achievable things that you can focus on individually. And of course, the reality is that this can be really hard if you're feeling low. So start with easier tasks first. And as you progress, your mood should improve and it should get a bit easier. Start with right now, when you are going to get out of bed. You need to go and brush your teeth. You need to go take a bath. So do that. Those are the first two small little tasks. And then you'll get dressed and go eat breakfast. And then you'll look at which of the tasks, perhaps you've got an assignment or you've got a work project to do. Look at where you can start that will be, something you can ease yourself into, and then keep going as the day goes on. And then obviously, if you are looking at things like your bills, make a list of things that you need to pay and start off with what is the most important and what is the least important. You'll definitely figure it out. You'll get a handle on it eventually. But the thing is, you need to give yourself some time and give yourself some space and take it one step at a time. The third thing is to acknowledge what is working. So in everything that I've mentioned so far, you need to be mindful so that you can see what's going on and so that you can understand what's happening, and so that you can also really value how far you've gotten, how far you're going, and just give yourself that pat on the back to say, I'm dealing with a lot of uncertainty at the moment, but look, I am able to really, really take stock of how I'm feeling right now. And I'm able to focus on the short term, and I'm able to see the things that are happening in front of me, the things that I have the power to do right now. I can see that I'm trying. So be mindful of yourself as well. Even when it might feel like everything is up in the air or going wrong, there will be some things, however small, that do not change. There are those constants. That's why it's important to acknowledge what's working. It could be a close relationship, or your favorite meal, or a song that means something to you. Noticing, acknowledging, and being grateful for those constants in your life, as well as any small positive changes that you have already made or are working on can really help you deflect and recover from life's knocks, and help you see the possibilities of the future, and help you see how far you've come and how well you are doing. It's really important, like I said, to be very mindful of your situation, of the state of affairs, and then be mindful of yourself and value yourself and value how far you've come and value the things that you are doing for yourself to take another step forward, because dealing with uncertainty is an incredibly overwhelming thing. It could be small uncertainty, it could be big uncertainty, it doesn't matter. It is very overwhelming, and it can really set you back emotionally and mentally, and you can feel like nothing good is happening in your life. So I'm going to encourage you to look around as much as you possibly can. Look at the things that are happening for you, within you, around you, that are good, that are positive, and just recognize that it's not all doom and gloom. It really isn't all doom and gloom. I've found that the more that I'm able to recognize that even though I'm in the midst of difficulties, there are still good things that are happening around me, the better it is for my well-being, and the more hope I have. Like, it gives me a lot of hope to see that there are so many other things that are beautiful and that are good and that are blessings around me. So number 4 is recognize your achievements. It's perhaps been a really difficult time for you. I've been there, when you feel stuck and you are trying to find new ways to cope and adapt. Please take 10 minutes. Try 10 minutes and list some of your accomplishments or successes from recent months. Do it, whether it's a distinction that you got in a module, or it's a pay raise or pay rise that you got at work, or it's an award that you got for whatever the case may be, with a prize that you won, whatever it might be. Just recognize those achievements, and you don't even have to write it down using a pen and paper. You can go onto the notes app on your phone or on your laptop or on your tablet and write them down. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. Are there any unexpected ones in there? Perhaps you even did something like organizing the cupboard in your bedroom, or you helped a friend or neighbor, or you finished a book that you've been meaning to read, or you've spoken to friends and family more. If you're dealing with some serious stuff, just getting by is an achievement within itself. And it can really help us when we take time to reflect and be proud of what we have been able to do. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to feel a sense of relief from just sitting and taking a moment to be like, this is a hard time in my life right now. I'm not sure whether I'm coming or whether I'm going, but there are things that have happened. There are things that I've done. There are things that I've achieved that have been good for me, that I'm proud of, and that's great. And that's really great for me, and I absolutely love that for me. Number 5 is find a new rhythm. Routine and structure can be an incredibly powerful way to feel more in control and to reduce uncertainty. So, think about all the things that you can change or control. Could you create a new routine that might work better for you? It can be as simple as going for a morning walk each day and sticking to the same bedtime. It doesn't mean that you have to wake up at a very specific time and then have a timeline for things that you're going to do in a specific order in the morning. It can be 1 or 2 things in your routine that are the same and that do not change. Perhaps it could be going for a run, or going to the gym, or going for a walk. Whatever might help you in finding a new way that will work for you, do that. So think about all of those things that you can change or control, and then work on that. Also make time to de-stress and wind down each day, and build in positive activities like writing down affirmations or journaling, relaxing, some hobbies, speaking to friends, or spending time with those closest to you. And then you can also think about a positive sleep routine, because the power of sleep, I cannot believe how powerful getting some rest can be for the heart, for the body, for the mind, for the soul. It's amazing. It's amazing. Number 6 is try to stay in the moment. Very difficult one. This can be very, very hard, especially when you're dealing with a lot of things. But try. Do your best and try. When going through a period of change and uncertainty, we can really, really be forgetful of the here and the now. It's important not to dwell on the past or fixate on the future or get bogged down by things you do not or cannot know. You can only do your best with what you have today. Relaxation, NB, mindfulness, or getting outside and enjoying nature are really good ways to help you focus on the present. I went on a walk the other day with my friend Bogang, and we walked for almost 2 hours. I think it might have been less, but it felt like it was quite a long walk, and I didn't mind it at all. I didn't mind it. I actually really enjoyed it. I don't walk, I do home workouts, so that walk was such a refreshing experience. And after that, I said to her, I just want to do this more often. But what I'm trying to say is that walk, it just allowed me to stay in the moment. I was able to appreciate and see the trees and see the clouds in the sky and feel the sun on my skin and really be present in that conversation that we were having when we were walking. And it just felt so good. It just felt so important and so necessary, and I felt so relaxed, and I felt like I was taking stock in that moment of how I was feeling. I was being very mindful of myself. I was being very kind to myself and also encouraging myself throughout that walk. I was like, at some point we went up a hill, and I was like, you know what, you can do this, or you can do this. Um, and it felt so good. I just wish words were enough to describe how amazing it felt. It felt really, really, really good to just be in that place in my mind where I was not a year ago. I was not. I was struggling to stay in any moment. I was struggling to stay in any moment with myself and with other people, because I was constantly worrying. And I had allowed the uncertainty in my life to take away the good moments, the peaceful moments. And I guess it's normal to feel that way when you are going through a change or when you are dealing with a lot of uncertainty, and that's what I was dealing with last year, just a lot of uncertainty. But it's important to try and find a way and to try and really stay in the moment. Number 7 is to reframe your thoughts. This is the same as the perspective mindset thing that I was talking about a bit earlier on in the episode, and that I'm always talking about on the podcast. But the reality is, obviously, it's not an easy thing to do, but it can be easy to get caught up in negative thoughts, feelings, and actions. And for most people, feeling uneasy is an understandable response to the uncertainty present in everyday life. But there are ways to manage these feelings. Maybe you're disappointed about what was supposed to happen, or you're scared of what the future may hold, which many of us are. You might find yourself in a negative spiral where you fixate on issues and convince yourself of the worst. It can really be helpful to step back, examine the evidence for your thoughts, and explore other ways of looking at the situation. It won't resolve the problems you face, but it can help break a negative spiral and give you a new perspective. Things are often not as bad as we think. And that is so, so true. I'm in my late 20s, and I thought last year at this time, I thought that because of I hadn't achieved everything I had planned on achieving, I wasn't where I wanted to be career-wise, that I was in a horrible place and I would be in that place forever, for the rest of my life. I am still so young, so it's definitely not as bad as I thought it would be. I have got a long way to go. I have got many, 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 many dreams to achieve, many goals to fulfill. I have I have a journey ahead of me. And as much as I thought that everything is doom and gloom last year because of things were not coming together as I thought that they were supposed to, and I was stressed and I was just going down a downward spiral, a negative downward spiral, and my thoughts were negative and I was feeling very negative. Right now, I can absolutely and 100% say that it's not as bad as I thought that it was. And sometimes that's the truth, that a lot of our thoughts are untrue and not as bad as they look and as we think. So just sometimes that's what needs to happen. You need to reframe your thoughts. Sometimes you need to be more aware of how you're feeling. Sometimes you just need to talk to somebody so that you can get a different perspective. And sometimes you just need to understand that life is uncertain within itself. There is a lot of uncertainty within it. You could be happy today and unhappy tomorrow. You could have a job today and be jobless tomorrow. You could be on your way to a different country today and the trip is cancelled tomorrow because of whatever the reason may be. So life is uncertain. There's a lot of unpredictability, but we do have the power and capabilities to find our way around it. It's just something that you need to be prepared to do, prepared to go through the discomfort of it, prepared to understand that even when things are uncertain, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world, even though it might feel that way. Number 8 is decide what strategies work for you. Uncertainty at work, home, or around others' expectations can really put a strain on your mental health and well-being as a person. Although it might feel overwhelming, remember this is not the first challenge you have faced in life. Very important. It might feel like the entire house is falling down from on top of you or underneath you actually, and you are falling down with it. But you also need to remember that you've dealt with many other things, and this is something else that you can deal with and find your way through. You probably already have a lot of the strengths and skills to get through the current situation. You just need to stop for a moment and give yourself a chance to think and give yourself a chance to figure things out. Think about what strategies have worked best for you when you have faced problems before and work out how you can use these approaches now. Sometimes you're going to need to adjust some of the approaches that you might be able to use, that you know to use. Sometimes you're going to have to come up with something new, but you can do it. You can figure it out, and you can work through it. It really is important that you also don't look particularly for the big things. Maybe you've noticed going for a walk at lunch every day helps to clear your head. So it doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't need to be something that's going to cost you a lot of money. It could just be something that really helps you work your way through certain things, like taking a walk, or perhaps scheduling a catch up with a friend makes you feel a bit brighter and lighter. Do that. Whatever it is though, commit to making it part of your daily routine. And remember that recognizing when you need professional help with your mental health is an important coping strategy. It's very, very important. When you realize that things are bad and that you need help from a professional, and you have access to that, please make use of it. Otherwise, allow other people to support you. Make use of the people around you that want to help you. Allow them into your space and let them give you a chance to be supported. Number 9 is only do what's comfortable. It's so important to make sure we are going at our own pace. We should not let others pressure us into things that make us uncomfortable, anxious, or unsafe. But we also have to try to not let that be an excuse that stops us from doing positive and beneficial things like staying in touch with friends. I know the heaviness that dealing with uncertainty comes with. You end up isolating yourself. You end up thinking that you can deal with certain things on your own, or that some people will not understand. It's very, very easy to push people away when you are dealing with uncertainty. But what's important is for you to remember that you have support and you have people around you, so that you aren't alone, so that they are there to be there for you, so that you have that love and that kindness around you. So definitely don't do anything that doesn't make you comfortable, but don't isolate yourself either. Discuss concerns with those close to you and try to build in small positive changes. The power of conversation, it shocks me every single time. Having a conversation with someone close to you, getting advice, hearing a different perspective from someone else, that makes the world's difference. Number 10, being the last one, is get practical advice. Again, speak to the people around you, speak to the people in your life that you trust, and get support from them. If you're worried about your employment status, for example, or if you, like me, have been worried about when am I moving out of home, when am I going to be independent and live in my own space, speak to other people. When I was on the walk I was talking about with Wogang, she was saying that she also we were talking about living at home, because she also lives at home, and she was saying that she's had conversations with a few of her friends who have moved out of home, about that type of move, that type of change, financially, emotionally, and she was saying that that makes the world's difference. Getting practical advice from people who have moved out of their parents' home. What are the implications of that financially? What changes emotionally? What does that look like? And that's why I think it's so important to really tap into your support system and have open conversations with the people that you trust. Have as many open conversations as you possibly can, because it's an important part of dealing with uncertainty. Speaking to people that have had those experiences before, hearing from them, hearing how they've dealt with them, using the approaches that you've learned in other situations, adjusting them, you know what I mean? But talking is so important, and I'm always going to be an advocate for it. Speak, open up, communicate with your loved ones so that they can help you and be there for you in the ways that you need it. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. This is where we are ending it for this week. I hope that this was valuable and that whoever needed to hear it hears it. I hope it reaches you. I hope it helps you. I hope you remember that everyone is dealing with uncertainty in one way or another. You are not alone. Please speak up. Please reach out for support. Please don't sit and be alone through something of this nature, because dealing with uncertainty on your own can be such a heavy and sometimes really, really painful burden. So please don't go through this alone, and remember that you will get out of it on the other side, and the other side looks a lot brighter, and you've figured things out, and things work out. They work out for the best, they always do. Please don't forget that you can listen to A Cup Full on all listening platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Anchor. You can also follow A Cup Full on Instagram. The handle is at @A_cupful to stay tuned in, to stay informed about what's happening with the podcast. Please share the link with a friend and tell them to share it with another friend, so that you can be a part of this wonderful community. Well, you're obviously already a part of it, so that everybody else can be a part of this wonderful community. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Please have a beautiful remainder of this week. Rest when you need to, work when you need to, be kind to yourself and take good care of yourself. And most importantly, please don't forget to keep doing the things that fill your cup up.